I call the Honourable Mary Ann Street.
Mr Chair, it's something of a disgrace that the National Government should want to shut down discussion of this critical piece of legislation that has been brought to us under urgency, and I do want to address that in a moment, Mr Chairman. But at the outset, I want to say, as somebody who gave up science at the end of the fifth form, I'm not one to talk about any details of science. But what I do grasp absolutely is the importance of research, science and technology to the future of this country, and that is a no-brainer. That, in fact, is something that is recognised internationally. In fact, President Obama said that the future lay on science, science and science. And I've been really pleased over the last 2 years. While it's taken the Minister 2 years, it's been really good to see the Minister move to a position now where there is a quiver of excitement about him around this portfolio. And it's clear that he's now latched on to the fact that this is of critical importance, and the Labour Party supports this particular move in this piece of legislation. But urgency? I don't understand, Minister, why this should have been brought under urgency, but it seems to me under in subpart 1 that we are debating at the moment that there is nothing that needed urgency applied to it. I'll tell you, Minister, I beg your pardon, I will advise the Minister that if in fact this had been a tax bill and there had been the reintroduction of the research and development tax credit, then yes, urgency might have needed to be applied in order for it to be effective again from the 1st of April. But no, this government decided that in fact when it came into office that it would kill the R&D tax credit, which had been in place for nearly a year and was about to bear fruit for all of those businesses that had invested in research and development and were going to see some of the benefits of that. Now, if that had been part 1 of this legislation, Mr Chair, then there might have been some justification for urgency. However, as it is, what we have under part 1 is all the provisions relating to research, science and technology, and particularly the allocation of funding and the establishment of the structures that are going to deliver it. Mr Chairman, the thing about this piece of legislation and these enabling clauses and this part of the legislation is that the country actually needs more than this tinkering delivers. In fact, if the government had not been so obsessed with utu and revenge, it may not have, and it had just taken a deep breath when it first came into office, it may have seen the sense and the purpose of the research and development tax credit and not taken the axe to it as it did to our Fast Forward Fund of some $700 million, which was beginning to bear fruit substantially. So in scrapping the tax credit and not reintroducing the tax credit through a tax bill, but simply reshuffling the structures, really indicates that this government has been, first of all, misfiring on the elements that are needed to promote a really dynamic science and innovation environment in New Zealand, and secondly, has taken 2 years to get to anything that would be remotely useful in this space in New Zealand. So the reshuffling that is happening, we don't oppose that, but what we are concerned about is that this is all there is at the moment. And while there is some reference to funding in this part of the legislation, Mr Chair, the fact remains that it is nowhere near sufficient, and this is a moment when, as with so many other parts of the government's activity, there is insufficient investment.